that kind of politics, one would assume he means the politics that he believes Donald Trump exemplifies. It's interesting that now that the race is over, he was sort of getting back into that kind of messaging.
And the groups that he did well, he specifically wanted to, when you said he talked about the messages that were carried through the campaign, but he also wanted to speak specifically to women. I guess he carried a high number of women in suburban, especially suburban women.
Yeah, well, it's a suburban district, and we don't have the exit polls to sort of look at the exact breakdown, but women were a huge part of his coalition, talking to folks on both sides of the aisle about this race, even though he was running against, obviously, a female candidate who won here. Women are part of the Democratic base overall, and in this district, that was definitely one of his targets to get out, so he certainly wanted to give a shout-out to that group of voters.
David, I need you to stand by because I want to bring in John King, live for us now at the Magic Wall. John, you heard John Ossoff's speech there, and you heard David and I talking about the groups that made up the folks who voted for him, and he did pretty well. He didn't pull it off in the end, though. What do you have? What's the latest?
Now, and on the conversation that's going to happen again, 4 Republican seats, 4 Republican members of Congress joined the Trump cabinet. The Republicans have held now all 4 of these seats, including Georgia 6, which is viewed as the most competitive. Close doesn't count. Are there things Democrats can find in every one of those races to say, hey, here's some hope for 2018? Hey, here's some lessons we can learn? Sure. But did they get any wins? No. And did they get a win in the place they targeted the most, spent all the money? Absolutely not. This is tough. This is district-wide here, the Atlanta suburbs, 52 to 48 at the count now. We're getting close to we're counting now. We're up to 160 plus of the precincts in this district. I want to pull it out for you this way and show you what happened here. First, I'm sorry for 1 second. I want to go back to here and draw you a line just to give you a sense. The congressional district is actually north of this line. The counties report the votes. So you see colored in areas that are not in the congressional district because the counties report these votes. But let's look at what happened here. Number one, here's a painful thing for Democrats. To take back the House next year, Democrats have to win 24 seats. So you have to take away 24 Republican seats, which means you have to go to places where Republican wins and convince Republicans to switch and vote for Democrats. Cobb County is the most conservative, the most Republican part of this district. John Ossoff got only 39% of the vote. There's more votes to be counted, Don, but he's at roughly 39%. He needed to be around 43, 44 to have a chance in this part of the district to win the district. Democrats have to ask themselves, how do we get Republicans to vote, especially in a district where Donald Trump performed so poorly, just barely won it. Why is it that John Ossoff couldn't get Republican crossover votes? They're going to have to ask that. In the most Democratic part of the district, and the reason we know this race is over, even though we haven't counted all the votes, DeKalb County is the most Democratic part. All the votes in DeKalb are counted. John Ossoff did quite well in that county, nearly 60-40, 58 to 42, but there are no more votes there for him to come back. That's why we know, even as we count the final votes, that Karen Handel will win this race. In Fulton County, again, the northern part of Fulton County, the Atlanta suburbs out to the exurbs, 53-47. Strong performance by the Republican candidate, Karen Handel. Out of 2008, after 2012, a lot of talk that Republicans didn't get the mechanics of the digital age of politics. Donald Trump's campaign proved it late. Republicans proved it late in 2016, and Republicans have now proven it again in a competitive area with a lot of money. They can turn out their voters on Election Day and compete in the early voting. That's a painful lesson for Democrats, Don, as we move from these special elections now into the 2018 climate. And I just want to make the button up with what I said before. If you're Republicans, you are afraid if you lost tonight, a lot of incumbents would retire. I'm not saying incumbents won't retire. Incumbents always retire. But the number of Republican incumbents retiring is likely to be impacted by this tonight. That's one of the reasons Republicans are very, very happy with this win.
John King for us at the Magic Wall. John, I want you to stand by as well because I want to bring in now Larry Sabato, the director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. Larry, welcome to the program. The bigger picture in Georgia, what is the bigger picture in this race? What can you tell us about what the voters were looking for here?
Well, the bigger picture to me is that the 2018 congressional elections are a year and a half away, and a million things can happen that can change the picture. But for Democrats, obviously, it's pretty depressing. That's the word I've seen on Twitter more than any other from Democrats about the result. I think if Democrats learn a lesson from this election, it's that the euphoria that they felt for the last several months as Donald Trump has fallen in the polls, and they began to believe that this would be not easy, but doable to take over the House of Representatives and eventually replace Donald Trump. That euphoria is gone, and it's replaced with reality. And the reality is It's going to be a long twilight struggle, day in and day out, if they're going to be able to retake the House and eventually defeat Donald Trump. It won't be easy. It may not be possible, but it certainly won't be easy.
I want to ask you this because as you mentioned that, this is from Massachusetts 6th District, and you probably know him, is Democratic Congressman Seth Moulton. He says, hashtag OSOP, a race better be a wake-up call for Democrats. Business as usual isn't working. Time to stop rehashing 2016 and talk about the future. He added, we need a genuinely new message, a serious jobs plan that reaches all Americans, and a bigger tent, not a smaller one, focused on the future. What do you think of that, Larry?
Well, clearly, Democrats didn't do that in 2016. It's one of the reasons why they lost non-college blue-collar workers and therefore lost Pennsylvania and Wisconsin and Michigan. But that's one side of it. The other side of it is to recognize the reality in this incredibly polarized era. Donald Trump has polarized things even further, if that were possible. When that happens, in the end, the vast majority of voters return to their party. They do it sooner or later. And
I got to get to Karen Handel. She is down there, and she is about to give her victory speech. Thank you, Larry.
I have to start, first of all, by saying thank you. There are literally hundreds of people to thank and scores of elected officials and GOP leaders who put their confidence in me right from the very beginning, and I'll probably miss a few, but there were several who stepped up right from day one, including my very good friend Bob Ott, Joanne Burrow, Terry Null, Joe Gebbia and Bates Madison, Joe Lockwood, my hometown mayor Jerry Wood. And I need to thank, on April 18th, I said to everyone that this was going to be a very, very tight race. It was going to be contentious, and it was going to require all hands on deck. And that's exactly what we had. From all of the others who were the GOP competitors in the primary, including several who are here tonight. I see Bob Gray. Thank you for your help. Every single member of the Republican Georgia congressional delegation, our constitutional officers, the legislators, Governor Nathan Deal and First Lady Sandra Deal, Senator Perdue, Senator Isaacson, and my very close friend, Senator Saxby Chambliss. I need to also thank Speaker Ryan and the House leadership and so many of the members across this country who also united to help us hold the 6th. And a special thanks to the President of the United States of America, but let's not forget our equally great Vice President, Mike Pence. And I think it's appropriate to take a minute to acknowledge a new friend that I was able to make over the course of this campaign, and that was Majority Whip Steve Scalise. Right up until that tragic day on the ball field, Steve would drop me a text message every single week, just to make sure I was doing okay and hanging tough. I think he even called me the Terminator in one of them. Wasn't sure about that one, Steve, but hasta la vista. Let me just tell you. But really and truly, what happened on that ball field was a terrible tragedy. And we need to all continue to lift up Steve and the others who were injured that day. And we need to also lift up this nation so that we can find a more civil way to deal with our disagreements. Because in these United States of America, no one should ever feel their life threatened over their political beliefs and positions. And I say that, ladies and gentlemen, in regards to both sides of the political aisle. Through this campaign, I have had a really great joy of getting to know any number of our leaders in Washington. And let me tell you, even though within our own GOP family we sometimes have disagreements, these are fine men and women who are doing their level best for this country. I really am honored to be able to stand before you tonight and so extraordinarily humbled. But as everyone knows, most big things are not accomplished by one person alone. And I had a tremendous amount of support in this campaign from each and every one of you to a great campaign team. They really are. Yes, give them a hand. To individuals on the ground who put in countless hours knocking on doors and making phone calls to speak with Jon Ossoff. He was more than gracious, and he thanked me for a spirited campaign. And I wish him and Alicia all the best in the new life that they are going to be starting. Now tonight I stand before you extraordinarily humbled and honored at the tremendous privilege and high responsibility that you and the people across the 6th District have given to me to represent you in the United States House of Representatives. I will do. We have had a legacy of tremendous leadership in the 6th District. Our very own Tom Price, who's now Secretary of the HHS. Now Senator Johnny Isakson. And former Speaker Newt Gingrich. These men, these statesmen, have created very, very big shoes to fill. And I will do my level best to live up to the standards that they have set. To the Jon Ossoff supporters, know that my commitments, they extend to every one of you as well. We may have some different beliefs, but we are part of one community, the community of the 6th District. And I will work just as hard to earn your confidence in the weeks and months ahead. And I give every Georgian this promise. My promise is to work every single day relentlessly to make our state and this country a better place. My pledge is
All right, Karen Handel giving her victory speech down in Atlanta. Again, the 6th district down in Georgia, and she is the winner. Jon Ossoff, the Democrat, lost that race. Very close for a district that's been voted Republican for the last 40 years. I want to bring my panel back in. David Axelrod, Gloria Borger, Dana Bash, Mark Preston, and Kevin Madden. Dana, I'm wondering what happens to, because, you know, healthcare on the menu right now, what happens in the short term for what the agenda is for the Trump administration right now?
You know, I think this is one of the most potentially important implications. We talk a lot about the 2018 election, but the question is, what about tomorrow, literally tomorrow and the next day, as Senate Republicans are trying to hammer out an agreement amongst themselves on a piece of legislation to repeal and replace Obamacare. The fact that this Republican didn't lose, not so much that she won, but that she didn't lose, is one of the main things that is allowing Republican leaders to breathe a sigh of relief, because if she would have lost, and the Democrat in this race really did pound away on health care as an issue, there's no question that some skittish Republicans, and there are lots of them, would have taken that as an issue and said, you know what? This is not something we should touch right now, and perhaps moved away from it. Now, we don't know if this is definitely going to seal the deal amongst Republicans, that they can't come up with a piece of legislation that they can pass the United States Senate next week, but it certainly gives them a little bit more breathing room. And the one other thing that I wanted to point out, which is noteworthy, is that Karen Handel, we just heard from her, she is going to be the first Republican Congresswoman from the state of Georgia. There have been Democrats, but the first on the GOP side. Excuse me, the Republican woman, I should say. Make sure that it's on the female side.
David, I was looking through your Twitter feed. You tweeted something, I can't find it now, but I think what you believe is that Jon Ossoff had a better chance initially than he did this time, better chance of winning?
Well, I think there's no question. Look, before the first race, I think if you spoke to most Democrats and Republicans, they would tell you that his best chance was to win in that first race, where if he had gotten over 50%, he would have been elected, because the Republicans at that point were factionalized, they were divided, there were more than a dozen Republican candidates. Democrats were relatively unified behind him. What happened since that time is Republicans coalesced around Karen Handel in a Republican district, and they ran a very good race for her, and you could see it in the turnout today. They got those numbers way up in terms of Republican turnout at the polls today. It overcame the Democratic vote by mail advantage that Democrats were counting on. So yes, I think that he would have had a better shot. I mean, it may be in retrospect that his only shot was to...
Not only because they lost this race, which they hoped they could win, but as we've all said, it's a Republican district, but also because they want to have a message, and they don't seem to coalesce around anything at this point, and that's problematic for them. Being anti-Trump is one thing, but maybe you need something else.
I want to hear from the Republican here, because Republicans are saying right now, the president is saying, take a look at us. We won. He's saying congratulations to Karen Handel on her big win in Georgia, 6th. Fantastic job. We are very proud of you, Kevin Madden.
Yeah, well, look, the president ought to take a victory lap here. He deserved it. He went all in on it. And he probably came in at just the right time, too. It was at the end where Republicans really needed to just fire up their base and turn out folks on Election Day. You know, there is something we have to be very aware of. There is Democrat enthusiasm out there. They are, you know, coalescing around this resistance movement. The problem for them is it's just not enough. And they cannot be happy with moral victories. What they need are actual victories. And I think, you know, to Gloria's point, this is a party that's going through a transition. And they have not found a message in a post-Obama world. They haven't found out how to win in a post-Obama world. And so the thing that I'm encouraged about as a Republican is that Republicans do recognize that we do have, you know, maybe some headwinds that we're facing. But we're taking all the necessary steps to survive in this particular environment, and to, you know, focus on how we have to message in suburban districts like this, where maybe the president isn't as popular, but can be used to counter-program that Democrat enthusiasm out there. That's
Are you
out there
surprised
right
at all
now. That is what
at
has
all of
happened.
these wins, Kevin? Because if you you look at Georgia, the one there. If you look at the South Carolina race, so it was supposed to be a landslide. The GOP only won by 2,000 votes. There was no Democratic money, no national attention. So what does it say about how voters in the Deep South acted without the national party influence?
Yeah, well, look, I'm not surprised. I think we are very polarized, and I think in these special elections, oftentimes when you do have weak candidates like we have had in many of these in these special elections from both parties, usually the environment takes over, and because the environment is so polarized, these races are all going to be close. The one thing that I found encouraging throughout all of these primaries is that every time I talk to Republicans that are on the ground working in them, they're taking it seriously. They are not being complacent. They are raising the money. I mean, Karen Handel, for all the outside money that was out there, she raised $5 to $6 million by herself in hard money.
Thought. Thank you, Kevin Madden, the rest of the panel. Stick around when we come back. Much more in our breaking news. What tonight's big win for Republicans in Georgia means for Democrats, their hopes in the midterms. We'll be right back.
Fly me to the moon and let me play.
It's not just a car. It's your daily retreat. Innovative technology, refined styling, that feeling you can only find in a Lexus. Go ahead, spoil yourself. The ES and ES Hybrid.
Lease the 2017 ES 350 for $329 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
I hated our bathtub, but who has time for a remodel? Not this family. And then there's the mess. Then I heard about Bathfitter. They came in and put a beautiful new bathtub right over our old one. Bathfitter also has seamless walls that provide a watertight fit. There's no mess, no demolition, and they get it done in as little as 1 day. Plus, they provide a lifetime guarantee. Thanks to Bathfitter, I have a bathtub I love.
Call today or learn more at bathfitter.com.
Looking for a trusted home advisor to find only the best home pros and do a thorough background check. So
Jon Ossoff, of course, that he was inexperienced, that he lived outside the district, that he didn't represent the people of this district and their concerns and their needs. Now, this has been a Republican stronghold for decades. A Republican has held this seat in Congress for more than 40 years. Well, that run will continue as the conservative folks of Georgia's 6th District galvanize to support Karen Handel. And another difference you could see tonight, Don, in Karen Handel's in her victory speech, you didn't hear her talk much about President Trump as she campaigned. I was at a rally on Saturday where she had 2 members of his cabinet on stage with her. Sonny Perdue, the former governor here, now the Secretary of Agriculture, and also Tom Price, who gave up this seat to become President Trump's Secretary for Health and Human Services. But even in that case, Karen Handel didn't use the president's name tonight. She thanked President Trump. We've seen his tweets, and this crowd chanted Trump, Trump, Trump as she thanked the president. A big win for Republicans tonight at a time they knew they had to, Don.
Yeah, and now it sounds like a victory celebration there that didn't before. Thank you, Kaylee Hartung. I appreciate that live for us at Karen Handel's headquarters in Atlanta. Now I want to bring in CNN's Breonna Keeler live for us at the Democrat Jon Ossoff's headquarters. Democrats across the country thought they could pull it off. They did in a very different mood tonight at Ossoff headquarters. Breonna.
It is a different mood. There's a lot of disappointment, I'll tell you that, Don, and talking to some folks who have been with the Ossoff campaign from the very beginning for months now. Certainly disappointed, dabbing away a few tears here or there, but I mean, some of the people behind me, they're still, I see some people enjoying beers behind me. They're not as disappointed as you might think. And part of that is because just talking to people, they really felt that they were part of something and they were just proud to even get close. I think they're so used to being in the political minority as Democrats in a district like this, that just to be involved in something for really the first time in many of their lives where they had a shot, there's something that they're really taking away from that. And so you might go to other parties where candidates have lost and you might see a much more crestfallen mood, I would say, than even we're seeing right now. But talking to national Democrats, it's a different story, Don. I talked to one, I was texting with one who was close to this campaign who said that they were in a fetal position because so much really went into this. They were really hoping after losing some special elections to have something to show for it. And even when I talk to Republicans and Democrats, and a lot of them say, you know what, you might not be able to extrapolate out from this race onto what's going to happen in the midterms. It certainly would have been nice for Democrats to have something that could inspire some others, especially as they search for a way to run against Donald Trump moving into the midterms next year. If you look at the campaign that Jon Ossoff ran, it was not the campaign of a liberal Democrat. He was talking about fiscal responsibility. He was talking about bipartisanship. He was trying to really appeal to independents and try to peel off some Republicans. So I think that for some Democrats, they look at that and they say, if that wasn't going to work, is that the roadmap forward? We're not exactly sure, but they are, Don, pointing to a number of races in the midterm that they say are going to be more competitive. Dozens of races they say that will be more competitive in the midterm as they search for a way forward.
Brianna Keeler, thank you for your reporting. I want to bring in my panel now. Let's bring in CNN senior political analyst Mark Preston, CNN political commentator Matt Lewis, political analyst Kirsten Powers, and political commentator Margaret Hoover. The president taking victory lap tonight, as well he should, according to the panel earlier in the show. Mark Preston, the president tweeting out tonight, congratulations to Karen Handel on her big win in Georgia.
I think that's the question, like, does the civility thing work? And especially if you look at South Carolina, where you had a race that had none of the funding and yet had a closer margin than this race, it does make you wonder if it could have been run differently.
Remember there was the Montana race, Quist, the guy up there with the cowboy hat. If he had won, then it would have been, okay, we need these sort of populist Bernie Sanders. That's the model. Let's be Bernie Sanders. And then I think if Ossoff had won in Georgia instead, it would have been, no, we need, the Trudeau, Barack Obama, Macron, that model. We need that's the tech savvy guy, the young guy who can go into these districts that are, maybe used to lean Republican, but they're
I think Democrats would have taken any of those at this point.
But either way, you would have had a theory, a premise. You would have tested something,
That's right.
and you could have gone forward and said, this is our model, this is our template. Democrats have no model or template, nothing to show for these four races.
If you're a Democrat, I know that you're a Republican, but what do you think Democrats are thinking?
Well, that's I'm trying to walk in another man's shoes. Here you go. But truly, I mean, Republicans actually have a model for winning depending on what kind of district it is in a Trump era. You have somebody like Karen Handel who can put her head down and in her acceptance speech not even say the president's name. Actually just say the President of the United States and not even say Donald Trump. It was the crowd who said Trump.
Trump, she
right?
didn't, right?
So Republicans sort of know, okay, do I side with Trump? Do I not side with Trump? They have a model depending on their district and depending on who they're for. Democrats don't. Yeah. I mean, and that's what's concerning. I mean, we have this saying that all politics is local, but in these special elections, all politics is national, and they don't have a national benchmark to, I mean, what are you running to be with Nancy Pelosi? Well, that's not going to help in a Republican-leaning district. So they actually don't have a formula at all.
Can I ask you something real quickly here? Because we were talking about, as we were watching Karen Handel and going through the commercial break, $50 million poured in for the most expensive congressional race in history. Does this say more about the Democrats or the Republicans, or what does this say for them?
Well, what it does say, I mean, what we would have said if he won is that you can pour just enough amount of money in and you can buy the votes. Voters are mobilized by turnout and money, and that costs money. You would have heard a huge outcry that there should be you wouldn't have heard anything about election reform and Citizens United. But now I think you'll hear that on the Democratic side. We have to have election reform. We have to get money out of politics because there's no way a Democrat, which frankly that wasn't in play here.
This is not horseshoes, so close does not count. But is anyone surprised that it was this? Aren't you guys surprised that it was this close in the district that Republican
Tom Price, won this, in November by 23 points. So it's definitely closer than it should have been.
So what's going on
But
there?
but see, here's another thing though that I think is concerning for Democrats is that this is the most highly educated Republican district in the country. So those are the voters that you're going to be the most likely to pick off. Those are going to be the ones that are most likely are going to turn against Donald Trump.
So why?
So if you're not able to turn them, I mean, I do think that, they dislike Democrats more. I clearly look, this Pelosi message really worked, and this came straight from, Paul Ryan basically running this message. And I think that then that party matters, that people, don't cross party lines in this day and age.
The idea that Donald Trump is going to turn off Republican voters to the degree that they will then vote for Democrats, I think is a misnomer.
She needed Paul Ryan, right? And she needed the RNC, correct?
Well, and Paul Ryan has this outside group that really came in and spent a lot of money on the ground game.
TripAdvisor. When you're close to the people you love, does psoriasis ever get in the way of a touching moment? If you have moderate to severe psoriasis, you can embrace the chance of completely clear skin with Taltz. Taltz is proven to give you a chance at completely clear skin. With Taltz, up to 90% of patients had a significant improvement of their psoriasis plaques. In fact, 4 out of 10 even achieved completely clear skin. Do not use if you are allergic to Taltz. Before starting, you should be checked for tuberculosis. Taltz may increase your risk of infections and lower your ability to fight them. Tell your doctor if you are being treated for an infection or have symptoms, or if you have received a vaccine or plan to. Inflammatory bowel disease can happen with Taltz, including worsening of symptoms. Serious allergic reactions can occur. Now's your chance at completely clear skin. Just ask your doctor about Taltz.
Hi, I'm Jesse. And I'm Ben. We started Hubble because contact lenses are too expensive. At Hubble, our fresh daily contacts are affordable and delivered straight to you. Hubble. Daily contacts, half the price.
What made Secretariat the greatest racehorse who ever lived? Of course he was strong, intelligent, explosive. But the true secret to his perfection was a heart twice the size of an average horse.
For millions of baby boomers, there's a serious virus out there that's been almost forgotten. It's hepatitis C. 1 in 30 boomers has hep C, yet most don't even know it, because it can hide in your body for years without symptoms, and it's not tested for in routine blood work. The CDC recommends all baby boomers get tested. If you have hep C, it can be cured. For us, it's time to get tested. Ask your healthcare provider for the simple blood test. It's the only way to know for sure.
Our breaking news tonight, CNN projects Republican Karen Handel wins the special congressional election in Georgia's 6th, beating Democrat Jon Ossoff in the most expensive House race ever. Joining me now is a Democratic Congresswoman who has some advice for her party on how to reach out to voters they lost to the Republican Party. It's Illinois Representative Sherry Bustos, and she joins me now. Representative, thank you so much for joining us. So, what do you think?
The outcome wasn't what we had hoped to have happen, but let's look at it from this perspective. Just in November, Representative Price won this seat as a Republican by 23 points. We just lost by 5 points tonight. So I'm going to take that away as a silver lining and saying, we're moving in the right direction. We're inching the ball forward. We just didn't get in the end zone the way we had hoped to.
Mm-hmm. So, I've been teasing you, saying you're coming up, telling the audience that you're going to have a message to your party about reaching out to Republican voters. What's your message?
Well, so I'm one of 3 co-chairs of the Democratic Policy and Communications Committee. This was a position where I, along with David Cicilline from Rhode Island and Hakeem Jeffries from New York, we were elected among our colleagues to help us craft what we're going to be talking about from a messaging perspective going forth. You know, right now, let's look at the timing. It is June. We don't have the midterm election till November of 2018. So we've got time to work on this. I do know this. It's not going to work for us just to have an anti-Trump message. I serve in a congressional district in northwestern Illinois that Donald Trump won, and I won by 20 points. And I've had a lot of my colleagues say, well, how do you make something like that happen?
Together you have to live in the sea.
Anthony Bourdain Parts Unknown, Trinidad, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
Taking the ancestry DNA test is really quite simple. It comes in the mail, you pull out the tube and you spit in it, which is something Southern girls are taught you're not supposed to do. You seal it and you send it back, and then you wait for your results. It's that simple.
It's not just a car. It's your daily retreat. Innovative technology, refined styling, that feeling you can only find in a Lexus. Go ahead, spoil yourself. The ES and ES Hybrid.
Lease the 2017 ES 350 for $329 a month for 36 months.
Experience amazing at your Lexus dealer.
Contemporary. C-O-N-T.
Whether you're traveling for a spelling bee or just need to stay a spell, try Motel 6. Updated rooms that'll surprise you. Low prices that won't. We'll leave the light on for you.
Here you go, little guy. A cockroach can survive submerged underwater for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Yeah. Not getting in today. Not on my watch.
Pests never stop trying to get in. We never stop working to keep them out. Terminix, defenders of home.
I could tell right away ZipRecruiter was going to make hiring a lot easier.
Go to ZipRecruiter.com and post to over 100 job boards with one click. Then easily select the best candidates from one list. Try it for free today at ZipRecruiter.com/newstv.
Real milk has 8 times more protein than almond milk. Real milk has naturally occurring calcium. Almond milk doesn't. And it also only has 2% almonds, which looks like this. What's the other 98%? Get real. Get naturally nutritious real milk.
It's the first ever NBA Awards, featuring a performance from Nicki Minaj and hosted by entertainer extraordinaire Drake. The votes are in. It's time to celebrate greatness. Woo! The NBA Awards, Monday at 9 on TNT.
Let's read the history of antivirus. Antivirus was founded in America by McAfee and Symantec. In the 90s, they cut American jobs and outsourced research to the Philippines and development to India.
I hate outsourcing.
By 2000, the internet was booming, and with it came more viruses. Demand for security grew, and antivirus from Eastern Europe and Russia came to America.
Is Eastern European antivirus any good?
No, infections are still common because they use a blacklist, a relic from the 80s. In 2011, PCMag created a whitelist of trusted programs, blocking threats like ransomware and bringing antivirus back to America.
My school had ransomware. Does the whitelist work?
PCMag scored the first 100% detection in the Virus Bulletin RAP test, the industry's most difficult test.
PCmatic costs $50 for 5 computers for 1 year. PCmatic Pro protects businesses and government agencies.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Breaking news tonight, CNN projects Republican Karen Handel wins the special congressional election in Georgia's 6th, beating Democrat John Ossoff in the most expensive House race ever. Let's discuss now. CNN political commentators Brian Fallon and Kevin Madden are both here. Brian, there were tears at the Ossoff quarters tonight. Democrats put in a lot into this race, a lot of money, a lot of effort. What went wrong?
Well, this race outcome tonight was a disappointment. People that were running against each other, neither of whom was in office. Karen Handel said that she'd support the proposal if she got to Washington, but she hadn't actually cast a vote for it. It allowed the two sides to sort of run a proxy war where Ossoff was riding an anti-Trump momentum and Handel, for her part, was trying to run against Nancy Pelosi. In the midterms, though, I think you're going to have an opportunity where you'll have Democrats that are running on their biography, running on a platform that's uniquely tailored to their district, and then running against their incumbent's voting record.
Yeah, but you'll have attention spread across the country and not just focused on one race.
And that will also help. That will also help Democrats. I really do think here that you have to tip your cap to the job that the NRCC and Paul Ryan's outside organization, the Congressional Leadership Fund, did in propping up Karen Handel's sagging campaign. With Jon Ossoff had a huge influx of money from progressive donors across the country. Handel was sort of at a disadvantage. They came in, propped her up, got that GOTV program up and running. They won't necessarily be able to goose turnout for Republicans across the country when they have 30, 40 seats to protect in November 2018.
Kevin, Brian mentioned the health care bill. What impact will this race have on the Republican agenda moving forward?
Well, I think that we have seen a logjam in Congress right now. I think that logjam has a lot of other ingredients that have led to it, other than what would happen in a special election. But clearly, if the opposite had happened tonight, if a Democrat had won in this district, so many members in districts that are competitive, it would have sent a shiver up their spine. I think there's a lot of people breathing easier now in Washington. And a lesson for a lot of them is that that you have to be for something. You have to be constantly proposing solutions and alternatives up on Capitol Hill, and then articulate those your vision to the voters in your particular district about what you've gone to Washington and how you focused on reform, whether it's been health care, energy, regulatory reform, tax reform, infrastructure. These are all the things that Paul Ryan and and Mitch McConnell and Republicans up on Capitol Hill have put forth. Doing that is going to be your salvation. An agenda that's forward-looking is going to be your salvation. So I think that you'll see a little bit more. You'll see Democrats. I think you'll see Republicans feeling a little bit more bullish on the agenda now.
All right. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I appreciate it when we come right back. The latest on our breaking news, CNN projects Karen Handel has won Georgia's special House election, plus how health care played into the election and why the details of the GOP bill are still secret, only days away from the Senate's vote.
IHOP has a fresh take on fresh fruit. Juicy oranges and plump strawberries or bananas and berries. Picked at the height of freshness and starting at just $4.99. Did we mention they were juicy? IHOP. Eat up every moment.
Looking for a hotel that fits your budget? TripAdvisor now searches over 200 sites to find you the hotel you want at the lowest price. Grazie, Gino. Find a price that fits. TripAdvisor.
Hi, I'm Jesse. And I'm Ben. We started Hubble because contact lenses are too expensive. At Hubble, our fresh daily contacts are affordable and to you. Hubble. Daily contacts, half the price.
That way, and mainly because Karen Handel represented the views and values of the people of this district, and Ossoff did not. He talked a good game. He talked as though he was a little bit more to the center, but in the end of the day, he was a stock and trade liberal. He supported climate change proposals. He supported minimum wage. He supported issues that just weren't reflective of this district.
So bad. Minimum wage and climate change, oh my goodness, save the whales. It's so horrible.
I told you guys, go ahead. You cannot be surprised, Simone, that a Republican won in Georgia.
Not to say that Democrats can't win in Georgia, though, because you know what? I'm pulling for Stacey Abrams in the governor's race. But I will say this. Look, in this particular district, in this particular race, I think my colleague Brian Fallon said it best. This was a special election. It wasn't like the Democrats, panned this out, picked it, and said, this is a race we know we can win. I think we made a good run. I also think it's important to note that early vote mattered here. And in order for Democrats to win and do well, Democrats really would have needed to run up the early vote numbers in a range of like 54 to 55, 56%. When the numbers were...
Проступають небачені досі деталі. І в і в яскравих сценах. Ніби в кіно. Обирайте телевізори QLED. Нова ера в ТВ. Samsung.
The Democrats have not won these races.
what's happening is, as the Republicans celebrate this like they won the World Series tonight, they're really just ignoring the fact that this is a game that started where they got 20 runs to, a 20-run lead to start the game, and they're celebrating close wins. So what that means is voters are trying to send a message to the Republicans, which is they don't like what they're doing on health care. They don't like that they're following President Trump in a lot of things that they don't like. It's happening in districts that are deep red, but it clearly should say something that the Republicans are choosing to ignore.
John Brabender, what do you say?
Well, I love hearing the Democrats talk about this because what they're basically saying is they want a participation trophy for coming in a good second. And the truth of the matter is, since Donald Trump got elected president, the Republicans in special elections are undefeated. And what's particularly interesting about this race is more than any of the others, this took on a national election. And Karen Handel was probably a couple points down a week ago, ends up winning by 5 points, not even that close. And I think that she actually picked up numbers because Republicans showed up and wanted to show that there was not buyer remorse in voting for Donald Trump or his agenda. So however you look at this, it was a good night for Republicans.
So wait, I want to be clear that no one was, I want to be clear. This was not a referendum on Donald Trump as we would have liked for it to be. No, Karen Handel, as Margaret Hooper said, didn't even use Donald Trump's name on the stage tonight. What they ran on locally, but they talked about health care, they talked about the economy. Those were the issues that they talked about. And the Republicans, frankly, they attacked John Ossoff, and he didn't attack back. And where you just sometimes you got to fight back. So not to say that this is not an indication that everybody is just happy with Donald Trump. People are not happy with Donald Trump, but they are more so not happy with these Republicans. And we need to be careful to think that this special election is an indication of what's happening for 2018. There's real potential for Democrats in 2018. Do, for lack of a better term, for 2018 is absolutely egregious, and it's a reach. It's a real reach.
It sounds like, though, I mean, as we're sitting here talking about it, like, if you were just tuning in, you would think that John Ossoff was running for president.
Oh, my God, yes. That John Ossoff was running not only for president, and that he had the backing of every single body everywhere, and we were out there up front from the beginning saying, this is our race and we're going to win it.
Well, this is a great night for Karen Handel. There's cheers across the district in Georgia. No more TV ads, no more knock on doors, no more mail pieces on this race, and people can go about their lives and live happily ever after.
Okay, so let's talk about what this means for the Republican agenda moving forward, especially as it relates to health care. Sean Spicer today saying the president had not seen the latest health care bill. Watch this.
I don't know that. I know that there was some chatter today. I know the president has been on the phone extensively with the leader and with key senators, so I don't know if he's seen the legislation or not, but I know that they've been working extremely hard, and the president has been giving his input and his ideas, feedback to them, and he's very excited about where this thing is headed. I don't.
There could be a vote next week. How surprising is it that the president, according to Sean Spicer, doesn't know about this?
Not surprising to me.
After the break. We'll be right back.
There's nothing more important to me than my vacation. So when I need to book a hotel room, I want someone that makes it easy to find what I want. Booking.com gets it. And with their price match, I know I'm getting the best price every time. Now I can start relaxing even before the vacation begins.
Тим, хто пляшки всюди складає, щодня на роботі штовхає, тягає, зранку шукає і не може знайти. Усім же набридло добування води. З фільтрами «Екософт» у вас вдома завжди є нескінченно чиста вода. Фільтри для води «Екософт».
All the specialists with all the technology they need are in one spot. That makes delivering this 21st century world-class dentistry very easy to do, and we do it in one day.
I can laugh, people crack a joke, and I smile. It was a life-changing thing.
Call today to schedule your free comprehensive consultation, an ICAT 3D imaging scan. We'll even talk financing options while you're here.
They not only helped to rebuild my smile, but helped me to rebuild my self-confidence. They really set me free. I mean, look at this smile.
At Clear Choice, you're about to discover what you've been missing all these years. Call Clear Choice today.
What made Secretariat the greatest racehorse who ever lived? Of course he was strong, Intelligent. Explosive. But the true secret to his perfection was a heart twice the size of an average horse.
Old subsidies, which is why you have insurers who are pulling out of these markets. And so, no, Obamacare is not perfect. Premiums are too damn high in some places, and it needs to be fixed. But to say that the solution is to totally repeal it, take health care away from potentially 23 million people in America, make having a vagina a pre-existing condition.
You do know
that's
even Bill Clinton called Obamacare crazy before the election.
It's problematic. I think we're on the same
Donald
page
Trump
there.
was even
We're
president.
talking about the fact that people ain't seen the bill. Let's just be frank here. We have yet to see the bill. Show us the bill. Why can we not see the bill?
Which I would argue, then don't complain about it until they show you what they're going to do on Thursday.
That is
Okay, well, John, we have to pass the bill before we know what's in it. Who am I quoting there?
Nancy Pelosi. Now you on the side of Nancy Pelosi? Y'all were just barbecuing Auntie Nancy 5 minutes ago.
Don, the reason we haven't seen the bill.
Yeah, go ahead, Jason.
The reason we haven't seen the bill, it ain't because it's so good and they're just hoping to surprise us. The reason we haven't seen the bill is because they know people aren't going to like it. I mean, the House version was polling at 17% popularity. They're trying to make it slightly less awful, I guess. I don't know. But they won't show it to us because they know that if people see it, they're going to say don't pass it. And the situation right now is, what we need to have happen for everybody watching at home, you need to call your senators, because if 3 Republican senators have the courage, I can't even believe it takes courage to do this, because I don't think it does, but if they have the courage to say, you know what, I think that we should actually let the American people see the bill before we decide whether or not to change health care dramatically in this country.
Since
if
we
they
work
have
for
the
the
courage to do that.
But you know what?
Yeah, if they have the courage to, they don't even have to say they vote no. Just they'll say they're not going to vote until that happens. If they just summon a little bit of courage, that can happen.
Good, John.
Do you agree that Obamacare is imploding? I mean, let's look at this contextually. What the Republicans are doing is
I agree you're
bringing a
trying to
life
kill it
raft.
on the Republican
They're getting
side.
help. Well, look, it's killing under its own weight. It's a failure. I think we should all be able to agree on that. That's why all the insurance companies
So we should
have been
probably,
pulling
first
up.
of all, that's not true. Second, that doesn't mean we should get rid of health care for 23 million people.
Well, look, no, but
That's
the
not the
reality
solution
is,
to a
John
problem.
is right.
more choices.
John is right. Obamacare is failing and under its own weight. This was passed and sold to the American people that you would, if you like your doctor, you can keep your doctor, which isn't true. You can have greater choice and lower costs, which isn't true. And in many areas of the country, you have one choice for health insurance. That is not quality, affordable health
all
care.
of that can be debated. But my initial question was, why the lack of transparency? And the soundbite is too long to play, but we had all these Republicans back in 2009 and 2010 saying, how can you not, how dare these Democrats do that? We should know what's in the bill. They're doing this under the cloak of darkness, and now the same thing is happening, and they're saying, but it's okay now.
But it's not, I would say it's not the same thing.
It's hypocrisy, Don.
It is. I agree with Jason. It is hypocrisy, but it's not the exact same thing, because guess what? In 2009, there were hearings. President Obama went on a tour across the country explaining the bill of what he wanted to do to people. There were 6 months, at least 6 months to a year of hearings. Folks are trying to ram this through in 3 months.
I forget who it was. It was the Democrat who was on, I think it was a Democrat. It may have been just a commentator who was on last night, and they said, well, it's easier because you're not starting from the beginning. Basically, they're trying to, even though it's different legislation, that was the point. I don't know if that's true or not.
Yeah, here's what's happening, Don. What's happening right now is you've got a Republican political strategy. Okay, fine. We've got a Republican political strategy that's worked for a few years, which is just make up lies about Obamacare and criticize it. And now they're trying to turn that into a policy. And that policy is just get rid of this, lose health care for 23 million people. It is a good political strategy for them.
That's it.
It is not a good policy for the country.
We're done. Thank you all. I'm sorry, John, that's the last word. Karen Handel won tonight, by the way, down in Georgia.
Check this out. I found a way to keep my family from the King's Hawaiian.
Whoa.
Check this out. Whoa.
King's Hawaiian Foods.
There are over 18 million new cars on the road in this country, and at Firestone Complete Auto Care, our 4,000 ASE certified technicians are proud to help keep them running newer, longer. Whatever you drive, drive a Firestone.
This is CNN. The most trusted name in news.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Hello, everyone.
everyone, and welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Amaral Walker.
And I'm John Vors in Los Angeles. Thank you for being with us. There is breaking news from Atlanta with CNN projecting Republican Karen Handel will win the special election for Georgia's 6th congressional district.
Many consider the race the first major test for congressional Republicans under President Donald Trump. Together, both sides poured in an estimated $50 million into this campaign, the most expensive House race in U.S. history.
And we have the most expensive panel with us tonight. Joining us here, LA Times political writer Seema Mehta, Democrat strategist Caroline Heldman, CNN political commentator, KABC radio host, and Trump supporter John Phillips.
Also with us, CNN's senior political analyst Ron Brownstein and CNN correspondent Kaylee Hartung is at Handel's headquarters in Atlanta. Kaylee, let's start with you. A hard-fought win for Handel, but obviously a stinging loss for the Democrats. Take us through the numbers.
Well, things emptying out at Karen Handel's headquarters tonight, but Republicans saw this race in Georgia's 6th district in the northern suburbs of Atlanta as a must-win, and they were able to do it by a margin of just 13,000 votes in the end. For Karen Handel to keep a seat that's been held by a Republican for more than 50 years red, she now becomes the first woman elected by the state of Georgia into Congress. And there was so much talk in the lead-up this race about it being a referendum on President Trump, and it became the most expensive race in the history of the House of Representatives because so many folks from all around the country were sending their money to Democratic candidate Jon Ossoff because they don't like what's going on in Washington. They wanted this race to be able to make a statement, but the conservatives in this state galvanized.
Воно де? Чула мала, нам той. Холодильник треба.
А який вам?
А влізе у нього 2 порося. Ящик просеку, як прийдуть друзі. Правда ж на нього крутіша ціна? Якщо у кредит, та сама вона. Лампочка ночью теж горить. А можна ногою двері відкрити? Морозиться так же, як Людка від мене. На Comfy.ua заказати не проблема. Доставка безплатна на всі адреса. Коротше, пакуйте, по ходу судьба. Comfy.ua. Як вас не любити, без переплат кредити.
Because in these United States of America, no one should ever feel their life threatened over their political beliefs.
The more than 12 of you who, as darkness has crept across this planet, have provided a beacon of hope for people here in Georgia, for people across the country, and for people around the world.
A big win for Republicans to celebrate tonight, but that doesn't change the fact that Democrats were able to take a district that has been held by a conservative for more than 40 years and have it come down to just 13,000 votes.
All right, a lot of lessons to be learned from this. Kaylee Hartung, live at Handel's headquarters. Thank you very much.
To everyone who breathlessly and snarkily proclaimed Georgia 06 as a referendum on the President of the United States, Donald Trump, you were right. Hashtag winning. Caroline, if the Democrats were hoping this election was a referendum on Donald Trump and a sign of what may be to come for the midterm elections, kind of a disaster?
I would say it's not at all a disaster. They can tweet all they want. Symbolically, the Republican National Committee right now is worried. The fact that Tom Price won by 20 percentage points the last time he ran in this district, and it's now within 2 percentage points, this is a canary in the coal mine. And I am glad that they're celebrating and doing everything that they should do as partisans. But at the end of the day, this does signal that there's going to be trouble in 2018. And when you consider that the Republicans are set to lose about 30 seats just based on history, whoever is in power in the White House, they typically lose about 30 seats in the House of Representatives in off-election years. That means that the House could definitely swing Democratic, and this does not bode well for the Republicans.
John, what is the lesson to be learned?
There's a lot of dead canaries so far this year.
What we learned today is that the Trump coalition held. We've been seeing these video clips nonstop of these Republican town halls that look like Walmart on Black Friday, and we've been told there's going to be Republican defections defections, Republican defections, Republican defections. And what happened? Karen Handel won by a wider margin than Donald Trump won the district. And what we've also seen is that the Obama coalition is a coalition that's built around one person, Barack Obama. He used the coalition to win in 2008 and 2012. What happened in the midterms in 2010 and 2014 in these special elections this year? It's come apart at the wheels.
Steve, it does seem that the Democrats are struggling to find a way to beat Donald Trump.
Right, and I think there's a lot of recriminations right now. I mean, we saw statements after their loss tonight from Move On and from the Progressive Democrats of America, basically saying you weren't liberal enough. You can't just have an anti-Trump message. You know, you need to have a bolder agenda. You need to have a more progressive agenda. So I think that, you know, in the coming months, as Democrats figure out how they wage, like, you know, these 24 critical battles in 2018, there's going to be a lot of sort of infighting or debate about, you know, do we go the centrist path or do we go that, you know, more progressive path?
I want to bring out one of those statements. So I'm going to get to you, Ron, in a sec, because I just want to read out part of this statement from Democracy for America. It came out almost the moment that it was official that Ossoff had lost. Keep in mind, this left-wing progressive group had chipped in about 65 grand into Ossoff's campaign. So money not well spent, I guess, from their point of view. This is part of the statement. Most candidates do not have the luxury of lighting millions of dollars on fire by spending close to $12 million on ads behind an uninspiring message. Defeating Republicans in districts that they have traditionally held requires doing something drastically different than establishment Democrats have done before. Specifically, running on a bold progressive vision and investing heavily in direct voter contact to expand the electorate. That's what it will take to win districts like this one in 2018 and take back the House. The same tied centrist Democratic playbook that has come up short cycle after cycle will not suffice. So, Ron, clearly that's the left-wing sort of Bernie Sanders side of the Democratic Party, not angry just about the loss, but maybe seeing an opening here to change the direction of the Democrat Party.
And that is clearly going to be the argument and the debate in the Democratic Party, because Jon Ossoff could not have been kind of more centrist in many ways. I was on New Day this morning after him, and there was kind of no edge to anything that he said. I would kind of caution here about two things. First, you know, historically, there just is not a clear relationship between the results in the special elections and in the midterm that follows. Do you remember the name Paul Hackett from 2005? He was kind of the Jon Ossoff of his day. He electrified Democrats. He ran a great race in the seat vacated by Rob Portman outside of Cincinnati. The Portman
Democrats continue to make that mistake over and over and over again. And if you look at the map of what Senate seats they're going to have to defend in the midterm elections, they're going to have to win in places like West Virginia, North Dakota, Indiana, Montana. If that's your message with Nancy Pelosi and Maxine Waters as the face of your party, good luck.
It was kind of striking how much Nancy Pelosi feels.
All the colors in your eyes, I give you big white light. All the colors change your life, I give you light. And the world
AT&T Network Security helps protect business from the largest financial markets to the smallest transactions by sensing cyber attacks in near real time and automatically deploying countermeasures, keeping the world of business connected and protected. That's the power of AND.
To those who know that the essence of integrity is a promise kept.
If you got the time,
welcome to the High Life.
We've got the beer, Miller beer.
Just like we practiced.
Okay, we can get started.
Thanks. That was fun.
You're welcome. Nicely done.
Right now, receive up to a $2,000 spring bonus during the Infinity Start Your Own Legacy Spring event.
Do you have bruised skin? You need Dermend Moisturizing Bruise Formula for mature skin. Dermend uses proven ingredients that help improve the appearance of bruises. Help your bruised skin. Get Dermend now at Walgreens, Walmart, CVS, and Rite Aid.
Pain can really be a distraction. Pain is sometimes in my hands, right before performance especially.
Only Aleve has the strength to stop minor arthritis pain for up to 12 hours with just one pill.
This is my pain, but I am stronger.
Aleve, all day strong.
scorching heat today, folks. Stay cool out there. Next up.
Walter!
Stop suffering with hot AC. Cool it yourself with AC Pro. Just connect the hose, squeeze the trigger, and check the gauge. With 2 times the cooling boosters, enjoy the comfort of the #1 selling coldest air. Nothing cools like AC Pro.
The average family's new but old home. It's stood up to 2 rookies, 3 terrible 2s, and a one-coat wonder named Grams. It's survived multiple personalities, 3 staycations, and 1 tiny announcement. Behr, #1 rated interior paint, exterior paint, and stain. Protecting and perfecting since 1947. Only at the Home Depot.
For over 140 years, more people have chosen ADT than anyone else. Because when you...
Worth noting, I think, above all, there was one poll out on Friday by one of the local pollsters that put Trump's approval rating in the district at 50%. Karen Handel ran about 2.5 points ahead of that. His approval rating in the district then is about 11, 12, maybe 14 points better than it is nationally. So that means that there are going to be places where the dynamic looks different. And I would point to the main intervening event between now and next, the midterm election, are going to be the governor's elections in Virginia and New Jersey this fall, where Donald Trump's approval rating in both states in the most recent poll is under 40%, and the Republican gubernatorial candidates, as a result, are polling in that range as well. He is still a big shadow over this midterm election, but what this says is that it has not collapsed on him in terrain that leans toward Republicans.
And Seema, when Ron Brownstein is talking about reversions to the norm, especially with this election, I mean, does it pretty much mean that money is not always a good predictor of who will win an election? It sounds simplistic, but a lot of times it's...
Well, let's not forget, in California, a couple years ago, we had a governor's race where somebody spent $180 million and lost. So, and to a candidate who spent maybe a fifth of that amount. So no, money is not determinative. It's always interesting, and it's always better to have more money than less. I think the Republicans did a really good job of pointing to where John Ossoff's money was coming from. So much of it was coming from out of state, because it reinforced this idea that he is not one of us. And Republicans like to talk about San Francisco. Republicans like to talk about Nancy Pelosi. And when he's getting 6 figures from San Francisco, that was, I think, they did a nice job using that message against him.
It resonated.
And Caroline, how damaging was that for John Ossoff in the end? I mean, as Seema was saying, the money's great, but it also turned into a political attack ad.
Absolutely, and he was very effectively painted as a carpetbagger. He did live slightly outside the district so that his girlfriend could attend medical school closer to that location. It was easy to do that because he really wasn't the kind of stock standard candidate, which is why it was so important for him to run to the center to try to appeal to that. But at the end of the day, I couldn't agree with Ron more that the fundamentals matter and party matters. And if it's not about Trump, if both candidates ran away from Trump and made it not about him, then they were able to effectively make it about party, and this is a Republican district.
John, how much do attack ads matter, though? I mean, it got pretty nasty, especially that ad that was condemned by both Democrats and Republicans, where John Ossoff was basically linked to last week's shooting at the Republican congressional baseball practice. Do you think this ad actually helped Karen Handel, or do you think most people just didn't see it and just kind of fell by the wayside?
Oh, after the 2016 election, I don't think we're wilting flowers anymore. I think we're pretty much game for anything, and what happened in this race was child's play compared to what happened in the 2016 election. On the point of the money, I think a lot of these donors from here in California would have been better off investing their money in the Mummy with Tom Cruise than giving their money to John Ossoff, because they came up with nothing. And I'd point out, too, that in the midterm elections, the Democrats are going to be fighting in districts that are just as tough, if not they are similar to this district, where you have incumbent Republicans who won in 2016 a presidential election by sometimes double digits, and they're going to pick them off. I don't think that's going to happen.
Can we bring Ron in very quickly? Ron?
Yeah, real quick. John, I mean, your point about incumbents is right. There's an incumbent advantage. On the other hand, if you look at the Charlie Cook, my colleague, their voting index, there are 75 Republican that are more favorable to Democrats than this one, even though it has those characteristics of those white-collar.
We adjust on both sides to keep you comfortable. And snoring? Does your bed do that?
Right now, save on Sleep Number 360 smart beds. Plus, it's the lowest prices of the season with savings of $500 on our most popular P5 bed.
My heart beats 100,000 times a day, sending oxygen to my muscles. So I can lift even the most demanding weights.
Take care of all your most important parts with Centrum. Now verified non-GMO and gluten-free.
Look at this.
I like that.
And you can have your own bathroom in this one.
You got her attention.
Oh, mijo, you worked hard for this life.
No, Mom. You did.
Zillow. What made Secretariat the greatest racehorse who ever lived? Of course he was strong, intelligent, explosive. But the true secret to his perfection was a heart twice the size of an average horse.
Security?
Identity-based security.
Doesn't look very tough.
Well, if you're supposed to be here, you barely notice it. But if you're not...
Awesome.
Having my mom around to help with my daughter means the world to me, so I got her a smartphone.
Amanda, I'm out front, honey.
It's the all-new Jitterbug Smart from Great Call. It's got one of the biggest, brightest screens, and with the built-in 5-star app, I know she can always get help.
One touch and you'll be immediately connected to a highly trained agent who can confirm your location, assess the situation, and get you the help you need.
And right now, get 25% off at Best Buy, Rite Aid, or Sears.
On the next Parts Unknown, an island nation with a glorious mix of food and multi-ethnic culture.
We are a small island, and if you don't learn to live together, you have to live in the sea.
Anthony Bourdain, Parts Unknown, Trinidad, Sunday at 9 on CNN.
If you're looking for a job where you play an important role in your company and work in a supportive team environment, join Spectrum today. As a customer service representative, you'll represent the nation's fastest growing TV, internet, and voice company and help bring Spectrum services to the communities we serve. We offer a competitive salary, best-in-class benefits, complimentary services, paid training, and excellent opportunities for growth and advancement. Interested? Go to jobs.spectrum.com today.
Introducing the new Sleep Number 360 smart bed. The only bed smart enough to change sleep as we know it. It senses your every move and automatically adjusts on both sides to keep you comfortable. And snoring? Does your bed do that? Right now, save on Sleep Number 360 smart beds. Plus, it's the lowest prices of the season with savings of $500 on our most popular P5 bed.
United Shades of America. New episodes Sundays at 10 on CNN.
It is 9:32 here on the West Coast. You're watching CNN Newsroom live from Los Angeles. I'm John Paul.
And I'm Amaral Walker. Thanks so much for staying with us.
We are following breaking news out of the state of Georgia. CNN projecting re-election for the 6th district. Democrats had hoped the young upstart Jon Ossoff could deal the White House its first election defeat since President Trump took office.
But
Special counsel Robert Mueller is expected to meet with senior members of the Senate Judiciary Committee and others on the Hill this week to make sure there are no conflicts between his investigation and their own probes.
To appear before the committee this morning.
All right, back with us, our LA Times political writer, Seema Mehta, and Democratic strategist, Caroline Heldman.
Also, CNN political commentator John Phillips and CNN's senior political analyst Ron Brownstein. Ron, let's start with you again. A lot, obviously, going on with the Russia investigation, but what do you see the significance of Special Counsel Robert Mueller's meeting with congressional leaders?
Well, I mean, certainly one of the questions has been, since he was appointed, how they would establish their lanes so that nothing that the congressional investigation does interferes with his investigation, which is ultimately, I think, more consequential. There is a logical division of responsibility in the sense that, you know, the Intelligence Committee is really best suited to explore the underlying questions of Russian interference in the election, and the Special Counsel is best suited to deal with all of the criminal questions that arise charges over possible collusion and or obstruction of justice. So that makes sense. You know, in practice, it's sometimes been difficult to do this in the past when you think about other investigations, but I would assume that's what the principal matter on the agenda would be for them.
And John, the investigation's moving full steam ahead, obviously, and Mueller clearly expanding his investigation, not just include possible collusion or Russian meddling into the election, but also if President Trump obstructed justice. This has to be quite unnerving for the White House, would you say, especially with all these distractions? How can they get their agenda accomplished?
I don't think it should be, because all indications are they are cooperating with the investigations. And if you look at this Georgia election that we've been talking about so much tonight, it was not an issue in the campaign. Voters in Georgia didn't care. And the Democratic nominee, Jon Ossoff, didn't bring it up. He wasn't campaigning on the subject. And it isn't because they didn't test it. It isn't because they didn't look into whether or not that would be an effective tool against the Republican candidate. I'm sure they explored it, and they decided there wasn't anything there.
Okay, you talk about, you know, obviously voters in Georgia's 6th congressional district didn't care. There is a new poll out from CBS. It shows the president's approval rating is at its lowest level ever, 36%. But what is interesting is what's within those numbers. And in particular, there is overwhelming disapproval of the way the president is dealing with the Russian investigation. Among anything else, that has been the biggest drag on his support and his approval. So, you know, as we say, they may not care about the Russia investigation in Georgia, but Caroline, they do in other parts of the country. So how do you explain the difference here?
Well, I actually think it's a residue, right? So we also know from 538's analysis that Democrats are favored in general. A generic candidate running for the House is favored at 7%. So I think that's where you see it. It's a general sentiment where you're not trusting the party in the White House, and that actually has an effect on elections, even though, and I think it probably had an effect on this election. Again, 20 points is what Tom Price won by last time. There is no way he should have gotten this close. So I don't think that it is, Republicans can say this doesn't matter. Kind of like Hillary Clinton's email scandal. Early on, people didn't matter. But now we have the President of the United States investigated for potential obstruction of justice. This is not something that's going to go away overnight, and it's not something that the Republicans can run away from. In fact, they really need to be concerned about 2018, because the moment...
Then we've got the bendy, spendy weekenders. The tranquility awaits. Hanging with our mates weekenders. And it's been quite a day. So glad we got away, weekenders.
Whatever kind of weekender you are, there's a Hilton for you.
Book your weekend break direct at Hilton.com and join the weekenders.
Scorching heat today, folks. Stay cool out there. Next up. Walter!
Stop suffering with hot AC. Cool it yourself with AC Pro. Just connect the hose, squeeze the trigger, and check the gauge. With 2 times the cooling boosters, enjoy the comfort of the #1 selling coldest air. Nothing cools like AC Pro.
Sandals. More quality inclusions than any other resorts on the planet. Book now and save up to 65%. Call 1-800-SANDALS.
Meeting people is my life. I had to be careful how wide I would open my mouth because I was embarrassed to show my teeth. It was time to do something for myself that was going to be permanent.
The Clear Choice one-day approach is making dental implants a reality for people all over the country who suffer from missing or failing teeth.
I felt like I was the most important person on earth to them.
Bill came in, bad teeth, discomfort, pain. We needed to get him into a smile that he felt confident in. We have expertise that you might not find anywhere else, all in one location.
The next day, I had a new smile. Couldn't wait to show some folks. It's amazing what a smile can do for a person.
Discover why this is so much more than another dental procedure. It's a true life changer. With over 30,000 new smiles and counting, we're lifting spirits and confidence all over America. Schedule your free consultation today. We'll even talk about financing options.
I'm eating corn on the cob. I had the best smile I'd ever had in my life.
Call Clear Choice today.
Two babies sharing precious brain tissue go inside the operating room with Dr. Sanjay Gupta for this historic surgery.
I was wondering whether we were going to lose both kids.
And find out what happened next. Saving the Twins, Friday night at 10.
It's easy to see why Nissan is America's fastest growing auto brand. Introducing a new Midnight Edition with aggressive blacked out alloy wheels, spoilers, outside mirrors, and more. Take on the mainstream in Nissan's Midnight Edition. 6 models, 4 colors. Get to Nissan for Independence Day savings. For a limited time, get 0% financing for up to 72 months on 13 models.
Between the doctor's bills, my credit cards, and the mortgage rates, I can't pay my bills. I think I need to file bankruptcy, but I don't know who to call.
Now there's legal help for all of us. BidOnMyCase.com, the attorney website that delivers. BidOnMyCase.com. Just log on, complete a simple form, and within 24 hours, you'll receive bids from attorneys and law firms competing for your case. Get the best deal. Pick the best offer. Only at BidOnMyCase.com. Log on today. Be represented tomorrow.
CNN, the most trusted name in news.
Hello, everyone. Recapping our top story, Republican Karen Handel is celebrating a hard-fought win in Georgia. Gosh, it really is very difficult to watch. This incident ignited nationwide protests after Castile's girlfriend streamed the shooting's aftermath on Facebook Live last year. More protests took place after Yanez was found not guilty.
He testified he fired his weapon in self-defense because he thought Castile was reaching for his gun. The police department now says it's best if Yanez leaves the force and says he will not be returning to active duty.
Time to take a quick break. When we come back, we're going to get back to our breaking news just ahead. Republican Karen Handel scoring a win in Georgia's special election. We're going to check the numbers next.
3, 2, 1. When this bell rings, it starts a chain reaction that's heard throughout the connected business world. AT&T Network Security helps protect business from the largest financial markets to the smallest transactions by sensing cyber attacks in near real time and automatically deploying countermeasures, keeping the world of business connected and protected. That's the power of AND.
I'm always training with a purpose. I train a lot and I sweat. I sweat so much.
I'm totally competing, sometimes against the heat.
If it's your passion, you never want to let the heat slow you down. You need something that can cool you instantly and keep you cool for hours. For these world champions, it's the new Max Cooling Towel from Mission.
This Mission Cooling Towel, it instantly cools you down.
Just soak, wring, and snap to activate. Mission's new Hydroactive Max cooling technology cools as low as 60 degrees, plus provides up to 30% greater cooling power. Machine washable and chemical-free technology. Whether you're playing hard or working harder, don't let the heat beat you.
There's no other cooling towel like Mission.
Shop Mission.com or Dick's Sporting Goods.
The Mission Max Cooling Towel, it's a game changer.
Just like the people who own them, every business is different. But every one of those businesses will need legal help as they age and grow. Whether it be with customer contracts, agreements to lease a space, or protecting your work, LegalZoom's network of attorneys can help you every step of the way. So you can focus on what you do, and we'll handle the legal stuff that comes up along the way. LegalZoom. Legal help is here.
If you have moderate to severe ulcerative colitis or Crohn's, and your symptoms have left you with the same view, it may be time for a different perspective. If other treatments haven't worked well enough, ask your doctor about Entyvio, the only biologic developed and approved just for UC and Crohn's. Entyvio works by focusing right in the GI tract to help control damaging inflammation and is clinically proven to begin helping many patients achieve both symptom relief as well as remission. Infusion and serious allergic reactions can happen during or after treatment. Entyvio may increase risk of infection, which can be serious.
Today, folks, stay cool out there. Next up. Walter!
Stop suffering with hot AC. Cool it yourself with AC Pro. Just connect the hose, squeeze the trigger, and check the gauge. With 2 times the cooling boosters, enjoy the comfort of the #1 selling coldest air. Nothing cools like AC Pro.
I pray that the Lord restore the health of the wounded soldier.
If you could have anything, what would it be?
To be taken far away from here. John.
Darling, wait.
I hope you like apple pie. I need chloroform. Get the saw now.
What have you done to me?
The Beguiled, rated R.
We went from 1,500 employees to 150 people working.
We are in an economic downturn in the coal industry.
And this is the main industry of Appalachia.
It is.
I just want a good job. That's it.
No jobs leads to no money, which leads to depression, which leads to drugs.
How easy is it to find drugs down here?
All you had to do is walk down the sidewalk.
I'm concerned about the future.
You won't hear no at Bow. You're approved at Bow Townsend Nissan. If you're employed, our special finance department will get you the credit you need for the new or used vehicle you want. It's all about you. You're approved at Bow Townsend Nissan, National Road, Vandalia.
This is more than just a contract. It's the phone company locking you into expensive, slow, and outdated services. At Spectrum Business, there are no contracts. Now that Time Warner Cable Business Class is Spectrum Business, we'll earn your business with faster internet, advanced voice, and the best prices, all with over 99.9% network reliability. Stuck in a contract? We'll buy you out. So don't get locked into poor services and higher prices. Switching is easy. Call 866-308-1034.
At Bow Townsend Nissan, it's all about you. See why we're the #1 pre-owned certified Nissan dealer in the area. Choose from over 300 vehicles at Bow. You'll find prices for every budget and easy financing. Bow Townsend Nissan, National Road, Vandalia.
This is CNN, the most trusted name in news.
This is CNN Breaking News.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to our viewers in the United States and around the world. I'm Amaryl Walker.
I'm John Vors here in Los Angeles. It has just gone 10 o'clock. Thank you for being with us. Well, the most expensive congressional House race in U.S. history is over and done. CNN projects Republican Karen Handel is the winner.
Her victory is seen by many as a win for President Donald Trump, although the race was close in a district that has voted Republican since the 1970s.
Well, to get to this hour, so joining us now, CNN's senior reporter for media and politics, Dylan Byers, Democratic strategist Caroline Heldman, and CNN political commentator, KABC radio host and Trump supporter John Phillips.
Also with us, CNN senior political analyst Ron Brownstein, and from Atlanta, CNN politics reporter Eric Bradner. Eric, let's start with you. The Republicans were supposed to win this special election, but it's still a very stinging loss for the Democrats, who got pretty close.
That's right. The political world was watching Atlanta, the northern suburbs today, where in a race that both sides spent a combined $50 million on, Democrats were really hoping they could flip this seat. It was one that Trump beat Clinton by just 1 point in November but Karen Handel, the Republican, managed to come out on top. She beat John Ossoff, the Democrat, who raised more than $23 million by a margin of 52.7% to 47.3%. So it's an important win for Republicans because just 5 months into Trump's presidency, this was seen as a real test of his popularity, of whether Republicans...
51.9%, John Ossoff with 48.1%. So a win by, 10,000 votes there. Ron, your take?
Yeah. Well, look, I mean, this continues. So this is why special elections are so maddening and why they historically have not proven to be great predictors. You can look at this and say Donald Trump picked 4 Republicans, plucked out 4 Republican districts, forced Democrats to run in them, held all of them, which is an undeniable achievement for the Republicans. But in each of them now, the Republican margin in the special election has been vastly lower than what the margin was in the 2016 election. Tom Price won this seat by 23 points, and Karen Handel wins it by 3.5. In Mick Mulvaney's seat, which we haven't talked about at all tonight in South Carolina, he won by over 20 points, and the Republican won tonight by 3. And we saw the margins narrow significantly in the other special elections as well, particularly in Kansas. If Democrats can do that everywhere, they will be on the brink of competing to flip the House in 2018. But you don't know if in 16 months that is still going to be true. And that's why names like, Mark Kritz from 2010, a Democrat who held a blue-collar seat in Pennsylvania in a special election, have kind of become a footnote in history, because it did not turn out to be a harbinger of what ultimately happened when Republicans had their big sweep that fall.
And just very quickly, Caroline, I think there was, 24 House seats the Democrats need to pick up in 2018. 5 months ago, no one was even thinking that was a possibility.
Right, and it is a strong possibility now. In fact, on average, in off-election years, the party that is out of power in the White House picks up 30 seats and 4 in the Senate. I think the Senate is probably an impossibility for the Democrats, but the House is very much within their grasp. And remember, that's where impeachment proceedings begin. Of course, they start in the House and go to the Senate. My guess is if the Democrats take it, they will immediately start impeachment proceedings against the president.
Okay, just very quickly, we still want to finish here. Sorry, Hammer, but there was a tweet which came out from John Ossoff's not-so-victory party. Apparently he's got a cash bar at his victory party. So the guy who raised a record amount of money, $27 million, is charging people, I think, $9 for a glass of wine. So, John, maybe some of that money would have been better spent on buying everyone a round of drinks?
Yeah, I think if you're a donor to the campaign, you're looking at that with a very angry eye. I don't think the Democrats are going to be able to take back the House of Representatives as long as Nancy Pelosi is the face of their party and Russia is their issue. Nancy Pelosi, outside of San Francisco, is malathion, and we saw that tonight.
Well, wait, I would say this. Despite what I said about the fact that Democrats need to put wins on the board, they can't just get close. The margins that they're making up are very serious. The fact that this race was so close, since the 70s, this district has been margins of, 12 to 36, something like that. Yeah. If I'm the Republicans right now, I'm worried about 2018. If I'm the Democrats, I'm also worried about 2018, because I know that this isn't a gimme. It's not a layup.
But regarding this election, though, what went so wrong for Ossoff? Was he just the wrong candidate, and his messaging was too in the middle?
Two things. He's the wrong candidate. But let's not forget, it's easy when you're those donors in California, New York, Massachusetts to think the rest of the country feels the way you do. A lot of this country is A, not as fed up with Donald Trump as other people are, and B, doesn't associate the rest of the Republican Party with Donald Trump.
Okay. And with that, we will take a short break. We'll have a lot more on the most expensive congressional race in U.S. history and what it now means to the White House.
I was wondering whether we were going to lose both kids.
And find out what happened next.
Every ding in the elevator, my heart was like just pounding out of my chest.
CNN special report, Separated, Saving the Twins, Friday night at 10.
Welcome, everyone. Returning now to the hard-fought congressional race in Georgia, and CNN is projecting Republican Karen Handel as the winner over Democratic newcomer John Ossoff. But it wasn't as easy a victory as Handel's predecessors have enjoyed.
The district has been Republican since the 1970s, but many thought Ossoff might be able to change that by appealing to voters angry about President Trump's election. Handel didn't say much about President Trump during her campaign. That, though, changed at her victory rally.
And a special thanks to the President of the United States of America. But let's not forget our equally great Vice President, Mike Pence.
All right, we are back now with our panel. CNN senior reporter for media and politics, Dylan Byers. Also, Seema Mehta, a political writer for the Los Angeles Times.
Also, senior reporter for Politico, David Siders, and CNN's senior political analyst, Ron Brownstein. You know, if we look back at 2010 with the Tea Party-style wave of Republicans when they took over Congress, that doesn't seem to have happened, at least not yet, for Democrats. And Ron, the big difference right now, it seems, is that back in 2010, the Republicans were all fired up and the Democrats were kind of depressed. if you look at this election, it seems both sides are now fired up and enthusiastic.
That's a really good point. First of all, there's an obvious difference, which is that President Trump so far has been able to pick the playing field, right? He picked Republicans from his cabinet from 4 very reliably Republican districts in reliably Republican, places, Georgia and Kansas and Montana and so forth. So that, every place is going to have to be fought out in 2018, including places where he is less popular than he was in these districts. There was polling in this district that had him at 50% in approval last week. That's very, very different than his national numbers and his numbers in many of the places like Los Angeles and Philadelphia and Denver and Northern Virginia that will be, the critical factors in 2018. So there's a big difference. But there is no doubt that what we saw here was a very energized Republican base and success by Republicans, I think, in turning this from a referendum on the president to back into this kind of a tribal parliamentary question. Which side do you want in control of Congress? Even if you don't like Donald Trump a whole heck of a lot, do you want Nancy Pelosi to be the speaker? That was a pretty good argument for them in Georgia.
Yeah, and obviously that message resonated with the voters. Dylan, let's talk about the money. I mean, again, as we were saying, this was the most expensive U.S. House race in U.S. history. $50 million spent on ads, but I guess even with Democrats spending so much money, it doesn't matter how much money you spend if you don't have a good message.
No, you have to have a good message and you have to have a good candidate. And again, the issue here is that Democrats believed, much like Hillary Clinton believed during the 2016 campaign, that there was so much antipathy toward Donald Trump that it would just be a sort of shoo-in to put up any sort of Democrat and that you could win in these very red districts. Now, Democrats, after all of these special elections that they've lost, are going to have to start thinking more strategically. And what I'm worried about in terms of from the Democratic side is, are donors going to be as eager to put up money in races where they can actually win after having suffered so many losses? What good is all this money?
$26 million every time?
Yeah, exactly. And think about it. Think about all the money that came out, not of Georgia, but that came out of California, New York, and Massachusetts. Those are big Democratic donor bases. They've seen loss after loss after loss.
Republicans here, as we've said, were able to shift this primarily from a referendum on Trump to a referendum on which party do you want in control of the House with her as the symbol, and that kind of activated the underlying partisan loyalties of this district. I think it's a conversation the Democrats are increasingly going to have. I'd be dubious that anything happens before 2018, though.
All right, we're going to have to take a quick break. Ron Brownstein and Dylan Byers will be here with us, but we want to thank Seema and Dave for joining us for this discussion. All right, still ahead, the pressure is on the U.S. to take action against North Korea after the death of an American student who returned home in a coma and then ended up dying. Possible options coming up.
When you connect better, everything comes together. Try it free at GoToMeeting.com.
Tim's ready for a new car, but what about his old one? With Kelley Blue Book, Tim can get an offer for his old car from his phone. Ready? He can take it to an instant cash offer dealer to trade in or sell his car for cash. Easy. And get a head start on finding his next car. Until then, Tim's got an offer he can trust.
All without getting out of my chair.
That's the idea. Go to KBB.com and get an instant cash offer for your car today.
Are you?
Thought the race would offer some telling signs ahead of the 2018 midterms. National politics played heavily into the result, with millions in outside money pumped into the most expensive House race ever.
Well, the U.S. now appears to be weighing its options against North Korea after the death of an American student who was imprisoned there for more than a year. 22-year-old Otto Warmbier died on Monday, less than a week after returning home in a coma.
With 3 Americans still detained in North Korea, the Trump administration has to be careful in its response. CNN's Brian Todd has more.
President Trump expressing his personal anger over the death of American college student Otto Warmbier.
It's a total disgrace what happened to Otto. That should never, ever be allowed to happen.
The pressure is now ramping up on the Trump administration to retaliate against North Korea for Warmbier's death.
Was this now a red line incident with North Korea?
Anytime there's a death involving North Korean actions,
does cross a red line.
A military strike against Kim Jong-un's regime, analysts say, is too dangerous an option. Kim might retaliate by firing his missiles at Seoul, at Japan, or he could attack the 28,000 American troops in South Korea. But a cyber attack on Kim's growing missile program could be an option.
There may be attacks, yes, we can take on missile launchers. There may be attacks we can take on the command and control center to send a signal to North Korea. You will not see the result of that, but Kim Jong-un will.
Experts say hacking the regime's internal calls and emails and putting them out in public is a possible retaliatory move. The U.S. and the UN have economic sanctions already in place against North Korea, targeting luxury goods and imports and exports which help Kim's military. Those could be expanded. But what could hurt North Korea more, analysts believe, is if the U.S. applies so-called secondary sanctions against Kim's chief ally, China.
It's pretty well known that there are an extensive set of Chinese entities that help North Korea evade those arms sanctions by the United Nations. We've had a limited number of cases where we've gone after Chinese firms for those reasons. We could greatly expand that number.
President Trump now signaling he believes China's efforts with Kim Jong-un have fallen short, tweeting, quote, "While I greatly appreciate the efforts of President Xi and China to help with North Korea, it has not worked out. At least I know China tried." The administration says it's looking at a possible ban on American tourists traveling to North Korea to ensure no other Americans meet Warmbier's fate. Experts say the administration has to be careful in its response so it doesn't put the 3 Americans currently being held by North Korea in any more danger. But the president, they say, likely has to show he's doing something.
If he fails to send a clear, visible signal after the death of a young American in the hands of this North Korean regime, he will be seen as lacking credibility. He'll be seen as weak around the world.
Experts say one broad-stroke move that could hurt Kim Jong-un financially is if the U.S. pressures countries in the Middle East and elsewhere to expel North Korean laborers. Experts say there are tens of thousands of North Koreans working construction jobs and similar jobs all over the world, and they bring in hundreds of millions of dollars.
Saying we haven't gotten the results we want out of North Korea, obviously, with this horrible incident, but I don't blame you. It's not your fault. And I do think it both points toward his desire to have a more conciliatory relationship with China than he signaled on the campaign trail, and simultaneously that whatever happens next on North Korea may be more unilateral from the U.S.
Yeah, I was the Beijing correspondent through the Bush years, George W. Bush years, and the Obama years, and both those administrations had exactly the same policy that Trump has right now, that North Korea is China's problem, let's pressure China to do something, and it never worked.
Well, that's because the options are so limited.
They didn't do it on Twitter. Okay. Thank you both. Thank you all of you for being with us. Okay, we'll take a short break. When we come back, soldiers in Brussels have shot dead a man suspected of carrying out a terrorist attack. Well, details on what witnesses heard, the man yelling before he set off his explosives.
Fly me to the moon and let me play.
Why buy the same old yellow box for hemorrhoids? Recticare Complete Hemorrhoid Care System has 2 effective medications. The strongest OTC concentration of lidocaine to relieve pain and itch, plus the strongest OTC concentration of phenylephrine HCl to reduce swelling. Because day problem, Recticare Complete does more. With Recticare Advanced Hemorrhoidal Cream for at-home use and dual-action medicated wipes for on-the-go hemorrhoid relief that protects and soothes. Get more complete hemorrhoid relief with Recticare Complete.
Dale? Dale? Oh, hey, Rob. What's with the minivan? That's not mine. I don't...
Dale, honey, is your tummy still hurting, or are you feeling better to ride in the front seat? Oh, is this one of your motorcycling friends?
Hey, chin up there, Dale. Lots of bikers also drive cars. In fact, you can save big if you bundle them both with Progressive.
I'd like that.
Great. Ooh, you've got soft hands.
He uses my moisturizer.
See you, Dale. Bye, Rob.
What made Secretariat the greatest racehorse who ever lived?
Police are treating this as a terrorist attack. No one was injured after.
Uncle George, your brake lights are out. So you only have one active brake light, and that's going to be your passenger side one. Your third brake light, which is up here on top, and then this one back here, is going to be out. You have your license and insurance? I do have a firearm on me. Don't reach for it then. Don't pull it out. Don't pull it out.
Щоб недорого і від надійного забудовника. Але у Оксани не вистачає грошей сплатити все одразу. Для неї знайшовся вихід – платити частинами до введення будинку в експлуатацію. Після кожного платежу Оксана отримує свідоцтво з графіком виплат та з кількістю вже закріплених за нею квадратних метрів. Після повної виплати вона також отримає свідоцтво про 100% оплату та договір відступлення майнових прав на свою користь і стане власником своєї квартири. Укрбуд. Доступно, прозоро, надійно.
Take it to an instant cash offer dealer to trade in or sell his car for cash. Easy. And get a head start on finding his next car. Until then, Tim's got a trust.
All without getting out of my chair.
That's the idea. Go to kbb.com and get an instant cash offer for your car today.
IHOP has a fresh take on fresh fruit. Juicy oranges and plump strawberries or bananas and berries. Picked at the height of freshness and starting at just $4.99. Did we mention they were juicy? IHOP. Eat up every moment.
There's nothing more important to me than my vacation. So when I need to book a hotel, I want someone who makes it easy to find what I want. Booking.com gets it. And with their price match, I know I'm getting the best price every time. Come on, Gary!
Your summer vacation is very important. That's why Booking.com has great offers, up to 40% off now through July 4th. Find great deals now at Booking.com. Booking.yeah.
If you have moderate to severe ulcer
Waste cutting into your day, you may have overactive bladder or OAB.
That's it. We really need to get with the program and see the doctor.
Take